Hello and welcome to the Real Story of Autoimmune Disease Summit series. Discover the unspoken causes of autoimmune disease in the body and the impact your emotions have on your healing. I'm your host, Roberta Tachi, and today I am so happy to bring to you Maria Alfaro, TRE, Tension and Trauma Releasing Exercises Senior Certification Trainer and Provider. Since 2004, Maria has facilitated TRE for thousands of people in the US, Canada, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Hello, Maria. Welcome here.
Hi, Roberta. It's so nice to see you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad you're here. So I thought about why don't we start off by sharing a little bit of your story and how you got to be here today with a TRE.
I met Dr. Bercelli in 2004 when I was a full-time yoga teacher and Tai Chi teacher. And the practice, at that time, there was not a certification program, but the practice really made me think about what is important in life. And I found a passion that was even deeper than my passion for yoga. And so I dropped basically pretty much everything I was doing, and I started following Dr. Bercelli around the world. And I started teaching in 2004. And then in 2011, I became a trainer. And since then, before COVID, I've been traveling in many different countries and 3 continents and teaching trainings and workshops and also neurogenic yoga, like you were saying. Since COVID, everything switched to be online. But I still do the same, and I hope that soon we will be able to go in person again. But online works as well because people like to do this work from the privacy and comfort of their homes.
Yeah. So a lot of people might not even know what is TRE. So could you explain to us TRE? What is TRE and how was created?
Yes, so TRE stands for Tension and Trauma Releasing Exercises and was created by Dr. David Bercelli, our founder. So David is a clinical social work, a massage therapist, a bioenergetic therapist, and also he has degrees in Arabic and theology. All this is because he was sponsored when he was young from the Catholic Church to become a therapist. And then when he graduated, they sent him out to war zones where he worked for 20 years as a trauma therapist. And pretty quickly, he realized that what he knew was not fitting the situation he found himself in, because, of course, there were large groups of people in need of his help, and also because he was traumatized himself from being in those situations. So 2 things. So he was trying to find ways to release his own stress and also to help all these big groups of people. And so 2 things that he noticed in this process were that people tend to contract when they are, let's say, in a bombing. Nobody will go like this, right? So people tend to contract. And what he also noticed was that this is regardless of their background, political views, religion, or sex, okay? And then he noticed the little kids in this situation tends to shake and tremor. So at that time, about 25 years ago, he put a theory together by observation, which was if we are genetically encoded to contract to protect our vitals in a situation of high stress, we are also designed probably to release that contraction once the stress is over. But apparently this involves shaking and tremoring, and that's why as adults we tend to shut it down, to numb it, because it doesn't look good in society. Shaking and tremoring generally are associated with fear, disease, weakness, guilt, or simply being weird. And so people don't want to do it. But you, the listener, you have experienced this sometimes in your life. Maybe you were in an accident, or you were in a situation where you felt threatened, or maybe you have to speak in public and you didn't remember what you had to say, or after giving birth, or after being pulled over by the police. So basically you have felt, is even in the common language, people say things like, I was so scared that my legs were shaking, or I was so nervous my hands were shaking. It's been seen, but it's not been associated with the possibility that there's a healthy reaction of the body instead of a sign of weakness or disease. So when David figured out all of this and created this theory, which now seems to be confirmed by the 7 million people in 78 different countries who have tried this. So when David figured all this out and created this theory, he researched a way to reactivate this natural mechanism in the body. So it's important that the person understand what it is, because otherwise the mind will be very resistant. It feels weird, it feels out of control, but it isn't at all. People can control it as they wish. But basically create a simple set of exercises, 7 to be precise, which are designed to either stretch or fatigue gently certain muscle groups just in the legs, so that in safety and in a contained environment, the people can experience this natural mechanism. So basically, we use fatigue and stretch to reactivate this tremor mechanism. We experience, and usually is described as pleasant, or at least neutral, or fun even. And so people can experience it for 10, 15 minutes, and then build up from there and see what it does for them.
Yeah, so it's amazing. So 7 million people and 78 countries, and a lot of people still haven't heard about TRE, right? So it's very good. I'm very glad that you are here sharing this message, and especially with people. This summit is about autoimmune disease, and many times a person who has autoimmune disease also has some type of trauma in their lives, and trauma doesn't need to be a war, like to be in a war zone. That definitely is trauma, but also many times developmental trauma during childhood, things that were not in the best situation, and the body can be still holding on to those past memories, trying to defend about something that is not happening anymore. And I believe the TRE could help that. How is the TRE would help in terms of, if you can say a little bit about the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, like stress and cortisol, and how is this relationship? Because we know, and the autoimmune immunity, we know that can be affected. And can you talk about how TRE would help with someone who is very stressed, and especially if they have a diagnosis that is difficult?
Okay, so first of all, of course, the stress and trauma are in a continuum that goes from the mild stress of being late, let's say, for your flight, to the severe trauma of being in a car accident, a rape, an earthquake, a war, and everything in between. So they are similar, but the difference is on the intensity, the duration, the repetition, how old we were when we are exposed to it, because obviously the younger we are, the less resources we have. So this work was initially created for the severe trauma of being in war, and that's why it was called trauma releasing exercises back in the day. But now it's called, 20 years later, it's called tension and trauma releasing exercises, because we understand that people can be affected in different manners. There is also the trauma that we experience from other people experiences, and so on. But basically, yes, everybody that has a chronic condition, chronic pain condition, autoimmune deficiency, autoimmune problems, and a variety of other things like, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, sciatica, panic attacks. All of those conditions are very often influenced by the trauma and stress that they've experienced in their life. And they're also increased and exacerbated by the experiences that they are having presently. So there is what happened before, but there's also how we react to the things that are happening right now. So if we are already taxed in our immune system, any little trigger can bring us over the edge.
And the symptoms, most of the time, my clients, and we can see with other practitioners also, that when they have more stress, they can feel all the symptoms get worse.
Of course, because what happens is that there is a buildup of negative chemicals and hormones in the body. And the more this, let's say, cortisol and adrenaline are typical. So the more cortisol and adrenaline is building up in the body, the less our immune system is functioning, okay? So through work like this, and it's not just TRE, but through somatic work that tends to downregulate the nervous system, which means basically bring us more into an homeostatic place, a place where we feel safe, a place where we feel relaxed, a place where we go like, So if
rest and digest.
Rest and digest, exactly, a parasympathetic state. So if that's exactly what TRE does. It can bring us from an activated sympathetic place to a more parasympathetic state. So when that happens, then the cortisol and the adrenaline, they tend to go down in the body, and we practically go like, okay. And then the immune system kicks up. So for people that have autoimmune diseases or things like also fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue, it's very important to do this kind of work gently. So basically, we don't want to whack the system. We want to do it in safety. We want to do it titrating a little bit at the time so that they feel more and more safe in their body. And over time, and for many people, it's not very long time. The effects tend to be quite rapid in this work. So over a short period of time, and of course it's different from person to person, they will feel better in the body, which means they will sleep better, they will digest their food better, they will not be so anxious, they will not be so triggered by the things that go on around them, they will have less pain, they will be able to relax. And so all of those things will bring them to a more integrated place where they just have a better quality of life.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that. And also you mentioned about sleep, and I want to talk about sleep because I used to have years and years ago a lot of problems with insomnia, and it came when I was having high dose of prednisone, the medicine I was having for the autoimmune disease I had. And it caused a lot of problems for me to sleep. And for years after, even I was not taking the medicine anymore, I could not sleep well. And with all the works that I have been doing, it's I sleep very well now. And I remember when I did my first workshop on the teacher training, in fact, to be a provider of a TRE, which because I love so much, I decided to study and to also do that for my clients. I slept, it has never happened in my adult life. I slept 12 hours straight. I never forget that because I'm like, wow, this is amazing. It's amazing how the body needed that. So can you talk a little bit more about sleep and how this benefit, and also examples of other population that has problems to sleep? Because many people with autoimmune disease have difficulty to sleep. One of them is because of pain. They wake up because of pain. Also because they are very, very tense, and the tension, some other days psychiatrists always talk about the tension in their head, in their mind, but I feel the mind is all over the body. Many times the body is also keeping that attention, and that can be a difficulty for them to sleep well. Would you be able to, can you tell us a little bit more?
Sleep is the number one positive. I have a long list of positive feedback that people gave us after practicing this work, and sometimes even after one session. The idea is the more the organism is tense and wound up, the more after just one session, they go like, wow, it really works. So sleep is the number one feedback that we get, that people get better sleep. I work with people, for example, I work with a lot of veterans, and veterans have a very activated nervous system. Some have also developed autoimmune disease problem like fibromyalgia from their stress, but their sleep is terrible. I mean, I work with people that after doing just one session, especially veterans, they told me this, like you said, this was the first good night's sleep that I have in 10 years. Another guy told me that waking up in the morning, he had so much pain in his arms that he could not even hold a coffee mug. And after doing this one time, not only slept like a baby, but in the morning he didn't have pain. And of course, you have to keep practicing, because when you have a lot of tension accumulated over the years, it's pretty miraculous in many ways, but you will have to keep doing it in order to, it's like peeling the layer of an onion. We all are an onion of tension. Some of us are lucky that we have less, but everybody, having a body means to have some tension, because everything that happened, from the slamming of the door to the shooting in your neighborhood, to the more intense events in our childhood or whenever, we all have accumulated tension over time, So of course, this works really effectively, but in order to be sustained, it also needs to be practiced. The good news are that although in the beginning we do this 7 exercise, so let's say a typical session, just the session itself takes about 45 minutes. So you have to do this exercise and then you have to shake. However, over time, meaning after you do it for a while, most people will not need to do this exercise. It will come up way easier. So it will be just a matter of doing it 10 minutes here and there. They can do it watching TV. Their body will get into the groove, their mind will relax and let them do it. So it's not to think, oh my God, I had to do all this. No, it can be 10 minutes here and there. They can piggyback it on other stuff that they do, like walking or walking their dog or whatever it is that they do with their body. And for most people, it will not need anything at all. Basically, they can lie down on their sofa or their bed, watching a sitcom, shaking for 10 minutes, and it can really change their life. If they do it, let's say a couple of times a week, it's really very effective.
Yeah, I think it's the beauty of TRE is also it's simple but very powerful and very efficient, very efficient. So I have seen people who go to hikes and they come back and they just sit. They said, I'm not even intending to do the TRE, but I sat on the floor and I bent my legs and they started. I said, that's good. It's your body already learned how to do this in a natural way, because it comes originally as a natural way. We didn't even talk, but I like to say that even the animals do that. Can you say about that, Maria?
Oh, totally. Animals do it in the wild. I mean, if a deer is chased by a lion and he escapes, he will shake. And then research done on animals shows that animals that are traumatized and they're allowed to go through this shaking response, they have better resilience, better immune system, better and longer life than the animals that nothing ever happened to them, which means in simple manner that what doesn't kill us make us stronger, but that is if we shake, because otherwise eventually kills us, because stress is the #1 killer that creates most of our problems. Another thing to keep in mind with this work is also that it's self-empowering for the individuals, because other modalities that they're all great. Let's say somatic experiencing, for example, is awesome, but people need to do it with the practitioner. So that depending on the practitioner to support them through the session. With this work, most people, after doing a couple of sessions or a workshop or something, they are able to do it themselves without having to go through all these exercises and without having to depend on somebody else to guide them, which is very empowering, because people can do it when it works for them, in their free time, whatever. Also, as you know, I offer those free classes for everybody that's tried it before, and so that they know that they feel safe with it, and so that they can keep free classes online, they can keep doing it with support until they don't need it anymore. But some people still like the support of doing it in a group.
Yeah, and that's great. And I'm very happy you're talking about this, because Maria is also offering some gifts here. We're going to talk about this soon. But I think we talk about the insomnia and some of the benefits. Are there more benefits that you would like to mention in practicing TRE?
Totally. I mean, basically, everything that has to do, a lot of our physical and mental and emotional problems are created or made worse by stress. So in order of frequency, I mean, and what I hear from people, sleep is at the top. Fibromyalgia, which is generalized pain in the body, chronic fatigue, insomnia, panic attack, anxiety, menstrual problem, because TMJ, pelvis and jaw are connected. What else? Sciatica is another big one. Actually, sciatica is at the second place. What else? Reactivity. You know, when, for example, people have kids and they are so stressed, the kids are driving them crazy. So for parents, this is for teacher, parents, therapists, all the professions that have a lot of compassion fatigue and vicarious trauma from working with the pain of others, like police officers, firefighters, therapists, doctors, ambulance workers, teachers, and so on, nurses. So all of those people have their own problem in their own life, but also they are taking on all the problems for the clients and people that they're helping. So this is a great work for anybody, and in particular for people that are helping others. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sure. Yes, sure. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, and I think it's a great way for. I'm very glad you mentioned about empowering, self-empowering, because when something happened and the person has a pain on a Sunday, let's say, and there's no practitioner can help them or something, they have a tool in their hands, or let's say in their whole body or in their legs, that can help them to get better. This is really great.
I just have a quick anecdote about that. I just went for my first vacation in 3 years, and I went to walk in Scotland, and I did this 150 kilometers, 100 miles walk in 1 week. So we were walking between 10 to 20 miles every day. And the first day, I started having a pain in my hip, although I trained to go to this experience, but I started having pain in my hip, and I was thinking, oh my God, what am I gonna do? You know, it's the first day. So anyway, in the evening, I did TRE. Not only went away, because it was hurting all day, I was limping. Not only went away, but I never came back. And I walked another, 85 miles, 87 miles without any pain. My friends that I did the experience with, they were so impressed. And although they've tried TRE before, we did TRE then every evening for just 10 minutes, before going to sleep. We sailed through this experience with no pain, no soreness, no tightness, nada de nada. And it's really impressive, because I'm not used, I never walked 20 miles in 1 day, and especially not walking 7 days in a row up and down. Yeah, it was very intense. It was beautiful, but also it was challenging. And with TRE, I came back, I wasn't even sore.
That's wonderful. And that's a wonderful way for exactly your own vacation. Something happened, you have right there with you, allowing your body to release stress and release the physical tightness that comes many times from walking or exercising too much. So I think it's also very good for people, not only who have autoimmune, but also athletes, that many times they hurt their body because they're also tight so much, and the repetitive
many athletes, many Olympic athletes, marathon runners, they do it before intense work to prepare, and they do it after intense work to release, and works like a charm.
Wonderful, wonderful. So thank you so much, Maria. Now I would like to let people know that Maria is offering a gift to you, the audience. And with this gift, you will learn how to activate the neurogenic tremors and in your own body. And you're going to learn how to self-regulate your experience and get support in sustaining your practice. So I would like you to look at Maria's website. Probably have a link here below, and look at the scheduled workshops. And you're going to take a look at the introductory workshop. So the first 5 people, pay attention here, the first 5 people who email Maria with the chosen class, because she works for different time zones, so pay attention to your time zone. So pay attention to your time zone that you can participate. The workshop is online, so from wherever you are, I'm sure you can find a time that is good for you. So the first 5 people who email Maria with the chosen class will be invited to attend for free as a guest. So don't miss it. Don't miss it. This is a great opportunity to learn.
2 hours.
2 hours. Okay, so just learn that is 2 hours, so that you learn and you practice and you can ask questions. And anything else you would like to share, Maria, or to say before we finish?
I'm very thankful that you organized this and to expose, because the TRE grew so fast that still we are not plugged in, with really promotion and such. So it's good to have opportunities. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be talking about it, to expose this practice to more people, because it's really very important, very effective, very simple. And frankly, because you are a provider, it's even fun to do. So thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us and your energy and your fun. And classes with Maria is a lot of fun. I really love her. So, and for those of you guys who are tuning in, make sure and go ahead and download, take a look at the link, in fact, of her schedule in her homepage. And it's amazing opportunity. And remember to tune back into our series that continues the real story of autoimmune disease. Thank you for joining us today.